Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a topic that a lot of you have been asking about. It's the big one for 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Fliteboard versus lift foils. We're going to do a definitive comparison for anyone looking at the very high end of the eFoil market.
And we really have to. I mean, you can't just look at last year's reviews. The entire landscape has shifted. It's a whole different ballgame now.
Okay, so what are the big shifts? What makes this a necessary update?
Well, there are two massive ones. First, Fliteboard was bought by Brunswick Corporation back in 2023, a huge corporate acquisition.
The conglomerate, right.
Exactly. And then, in response, eFoils just launched their completely new fifth-generation board for 2025, the Lift 5.
Yeah.
So it's not a fair fight using old data.
And it's not just a two-horse race anymore, is it? The sources you shared with me really highlight a third major player.
You have to include them. Audi Aerofoils. They've been the top seller in Europe since 2022, and they've been quietly grabbing a huge chunk of the market.
So they're influencing the whole conversation. Now, what's really important for you, the listener, is the context of our sources. The main reviewer here has a really interesting history.
It's crucial for credibility, yeah. This person started out way back in 2018 as a lift foils dealer in Europe, sold hundreds of their boards.
So they were deep in the lift camp initially.
Deep in it. They loved the robustness, the quieter ride. But then, by 2022, their business had expanded. They were selling Fliteboard and Aerofoils right alongside lift.
So they went from being an advocate for one brand to having to sell all three impartially.
For years. So they know the good, the bad, and, the ugly of each one. They've handled the customer complaints, the service requests, everything.
Okay, so our mission today is to use that expertise to unpack which of these brands really offers the best total package for 2025. We're talking innovation, usability, and that all-important ownership experience.
Because when you're spending this much, that long-term experience is the performance.
Absolutely. So let's start with the design philosophy, because where these boards come from seems to say a lot about who they're for.
It really does. I mean, look at where they were born. eFoils is in Puerto Rico. Fliteboard is in Byron Bay, Australia.
Both ocean towns.
Right. They're designed by people who live and breathe the ocean. They're surfing big waves, like 2-meter waves. And you see that in the boards. They're slimmer, more of a surfer style. They're built for sporty riders who want to push the limits.
And then you've got Audi Aerofoils coming out of Bavaria, Germany. That's not the ocean.
No, not at all. And their testing grounds are totally different. We're talking calm lakes, the Mediterranean Sea. They're not chasing massive waves.
So they're targeting a different rider profile.
A completely different one. And it's a perfect fit for their European customer base. You have a lot of people with kite or windsurfing backgrounds who just want to get out and have fun, carve around. They're not necessarily hardcore wave riders.
But, and this is a key point in the sources, that doesn't mean they're slow.
Not at all. In fact, the Aerofoils competition board actually won the eFoil race at Foiling Week in Italy. So they are seriously fast. The performance is there.
It's just a different philosophy. Lakes versus ocean, cruising versus carving waves.
Exactly. And you see that in the materials, too. Lift has sort of doubled down and now only focuses on carbon fiber. That's the gold standard.
Right. Well, Fliteboard still has those cheaper fiberglass and inflatable options.
But for this comparison, we're really looking at the top-tier models. And interestingly, the Lift 5 and the Fliteboard Pro, they have the exact same volume, 67 liters.
So on paper, they're very similar, which means the difference has to come from somewhere else.
It does. And that brings us to what the sources say is the single biggest game changer for 2025, usability. Specifically, how fast you can get on the water.
Okay, this is a huge pain point for any eFoil owner. You get to the beach, you're excited, and then you spend the next 10 minutes fumbling with screws and cables.
Dropping things in the sand, yeah. It's a real hassle. And this is where Lift put their R&D money. They developed something called the Lift Connect system, or LCS.
And what does that do?
It makes the entire assembly tool-free, plug and play. The sources say you can go from the bag to being on the water in less than 60 seconds.
A minute.
Less than a minute.
Okay, break that down. How does it work?
So 3 key things. The mast slides into the board and locks with a quick release. No screws. The wing just clips onto the mast with a safety lock.
So no tools there either.
Nope.
Okay.
And here's the brilliant part. The battery connection is built right into the mast handle. So you slide the mast in, and it's connected. No more fiddling with those separate orange and black power cables.
That is a huge innovation. But is there any trade-off? I mean, does a tool-free system feel less secure when you're flying over the water at high speed?
That's the first question everyone asks. And according to the reviewer, who's been doing this for years, The system is completely robust. It's solid. Lyft seems to have solved the convenience problem without compromising safety.
Which makes the contrast with Fliteboard even more stark. If Lyft is under 60 seconds with no tools, what's the Fliteboard experience like?
It's the old way. You still need a screwdriver for pretty much everything. The fuselage alone has, you know, 3 screws here, 4 over there.
So you're still managing all those little parts.
And then you get to the battery. You have to open the compartment lid, slide the heavy battery in, fix a separate locker in place, and then manually connect the 2 power cables.
And the board doesn't even turn on until you close the lid because there's a magnet in it.
Right. So it's not just tedious. It's introducing multiple points where something could go wrong compared to an integrated system.
Sure.
Lyft just. They solved the biggest headache.
Speaking of things you interact with, let's talk about the hand controller. This is your dashboard, your throttle, your safety device. It's critical.
And this is another area where there's a clear winner in 2025. The new Lyft Elite remote is a massive step up.
In what way?
It has a large, crystal clear color display. It's on par with what Aerofoils has been offering, which has always been impressive. The key is instant readability. You can just glance down and know what's going on.
And it's not just speed and battery, right? It's showing a lot more data.
Oh, it's comprehensive. You get your speed, of course, board battery, remote battery, your gear, motor rotation, power usage in amps.
Amps are useful for managing range.
Incredibly useful. And it even shows you distance traveled and the temperature of the battery and the controller itself. Plus, the physical controller is premium. It has carbon fiber parts, a titanium trigger. It's a high-end piece of kit.
Okay, so how does the standard Fliteboard controller compare to that?
Well, the standard one has a small black and white display, and the sources are really direct about this. It's just hard to read, especially in bright sun or if you wear reading glasses.
So you're squinting at your remote while you're trying to foil?
Pretty much. Now, to be fair, Fliteboard does offer a bigger, better remote as an upgrade, but the fact that their standard offering is so far behind Lyft and Aerofoils is a real drawback.
At this price point, you expect the best interface to be included, not an upsell.
Exactly. The controller is your lifeline. Lyft made it high definition. Fliteboard didn't. Not as standard, anyway.
Okay, we've done design and usability. Let's get into the part that really hits home for owners. The true cost and the maintenance.
Right, the hidden costs. So the sources put the new Lyft 5 and the Aerofoils at a similar price point in Europe. It's around 16,000 euros, all in.
And what does all in mean?
That includes VAT, a carbon mast, the nice color remote we just talked about, the full package.
So that's our benchmark, 16,000 euro. How does Fliteboard stack up?
This is where it gets tricky. The sources call Fliteboard strategy creative pricing.
That sounds ominous.
It is a bit. They advertise a much lower starting price. You'll see the Pro fiberglass model for around 10,600 euros.
Which sounds like a great deal.
It does.
Yeah.
But to get a board that's actually comparable to the Lyft 5, you're forced into a series of, well, mandatory upgrades that drive the price way up.
So that entry price is basically an illusion.
Completely. First, the battery. The base model comes with a nano battery, which only gives you 30 to 45 minutes of ride time.
Which is not enough.
It's barely enough to get warmed up. So you have to buy the bigger Explorer battery. That's your first big price jump.
Okay, what's next?
The charger. The one they include in the box takes 9 hours for a full charge.
9 hours.
9. So if you want to ride in the morning and again in the afternoon, you can't. You're forced to buy the fast charger.
So by the time you add the bigger battery, the fast charger, the carbon mast, the better remote, where does the price end up?
The example in the sources brings the total for a comparable Fliteboard to 19,828.
Wow. So it goes from being cheaper to being almost 4,000 euros more expensive than the competition.
Exactly. And the cost doesn't stop there. We have to talk about maintenance.
This is a huge differentiator. Most eFoils, like Lyft and Aerofoils, are pretty simple, right? Rinse with fresh water, let it dry.
Plug and play. But Fliteboard is the industry exception. They expect you to do a mandatory scheduled service every 100 hours, or at least once a year.
100 hours can go by pretty fast if you're riding regularly.
It really can. If you ride 3 times a week during the summer, you could hit that 100-hour mark in like 4 months.
So you're in the middle of summer and you have to send your board in for service.
Well, not the whole board, but key components. You have to box up your mast, your hand controller, sometimes the battery, and ship them off. You're looking at significant downtime right when you want to be riding the most.
That feels like a major inconvenience for a 20,000 euro toy. And I saw something in the sources about propulsion, too.
Yeah, another restriction. Fliteboard used to let you swap between a propeller and a jet drive. Now you have to choose when you buy, and it's permanent.
Why the change?
The sources say they had massive problems with their jet module, so this seems to be their fix. Just lock the customer into one choice. Lyft, meanwhile, still has their quick change system. You can easily swap between a prop, a jet, whatever you want.
So again, one company is offering flexibility, the other is imposing limits. Let's move on to the most human part of all this, customer support.
And this is where that Brunswick acquisition really seems to be showing its effects. The sources are blunt. They describe Fliteboard support now as a nightmare.
That's a strong word. What are the issues?
Things like broken jets, failing ESCs, that's the electronic speed controller, and really complex issues where a software update through the app fails, and the only solution is to physically ship your ESC back to them for a replacement.
Just for a failed update.
Yes, and the problem isn't just the technical issues, it's the quality of the interaction. The feedback is that it feels like you're talking to an AI robot or a call center reading from a script. There's no sense of personal expert help.
Now, in the spirit of fairness, the sources do say that Lyft also had a rough 2025.
They absolutely did. They had massive delivery problems, their support team was completely overwhelmed, and people were waiting a long time for answers.
But there was a key difference.
A huge difference. Even when Lyft was struggling, the feedback was that you always felt like you were talking to a real person who was genuinely trying to solve your problem. That human connection builds trust, even when there are delays. A templated response just feels insulting at this price.
You even see this focus on the user in tiny details, like handling the battery.
It's a great example. To even check the charge on a Fliteboard battery, you need a separate magnet. The battery bag is a super tight fit. It's just awkward.
And the Lyft battery.
It has a handle built right in. There's a button on the battery itself to check the charge. It's a small thing, but it shows a company that is constantly thinking about how to make the user's life easier.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together. We've looked at design, setup, controllers, the real cost, maintenance, support. What's the final verdict for 2025?
The sources are pretty clear. Both boards are fantastic to ride. They are world-class products on the water. But for the total ownership experience in 2025, the Lyft 5 is the decisive winner.
And the reasoning boils down to solving those practical problems.
Exactly. The 60-second setup with LCS is a massive advantage. The clear, data-rich Elite remote is just better. And right now, despite their own struggles, they're offering a more reliable and, frankly, more human ownership experience.
So where does that leave Fliteboard?
It's still a beautiful product. It looks sleek. But that confusing pricing, the mandatory service that takes you off the water, and the decline in support quality, it just makes the whole experience more frustrating than it needs to be.
And we shouldn't forget the third option here.
Absolutely not. Audi Aerofoils is an excellent alternative, especially if you want that fully shielded jet propulsion and really strong, reliable European support.
So this brings up a bigger question, doesn't it? It seems like we're seeing a classic story play out here when a small, innovative company gets swallowed by a corporate giant like Brunswick.
It really forces you, as a buyer, to think about what you value. Is it the sleek design and the big corporate brand name? Or is it the constant innovation and practical problem-solving that often comes from a founder-led company?
It's a critical question. When you're spending thousands of dollars, which company is truly prioritizing your time on the water versus your time dealing with service tickets and hidden costs? That's really something to think about before you buy.